Hi, welcome to Freedive Northern Ireland. I am Hanno Windisch, and in this tutorial I'm going to teach you how to hold your breath for longer. There are 4 elements which you need to know to maximize your breath hold. Probably the most important element, especially in the beginning, is to work on your CO2 tolerance. That just means that you increase your tolerance to higher amounts of carbon dioxide in your body. In order to understand why increasing your CO2 tolerance is so important, you have to understand how our bodies are wired to make us breathe. So whenever you hold your breath and you feel the urge to breathe, this is not because you're low on oxygen, it's because your blood levels are high on CO2. So in simple terms, this is because our brains have sensors that only monitor carbon dioxide levels, but not oxygen levels. And when we have a lot of carbon dioxide in our body, our brain tells us to start breathing again. It's quite important to understand that, because when you feel the urge to breathe, you will have plenty of oxygen left in your body. So especially in the beginning, you might start to panic when you feel the urge to breathe, thinking you are dangerously low on oxygen, when you're really just feeling the effects of higher amounts of carbon dioxide. So with regular training, your body will learn to get used to higher amounts of carbon dioxide, and you will be able to feel the urge to breathe and even go beyond it without the feeling of fear that you might have had in the beginning. The good thing about working on your CO2 tolerance is that you can get quite a significant improvement over a short period of time, like days or weeks. If you combine your training with the right breathing techniques before your breath hold, add deep relaxation techniques and proper recovery breathing after your breath hold, you will see an even faster improvement, and it is quite common that people more than double their initial breath hold time during our breathing workshops. When we hold our breath, there are actually incredible changes happening inside our bodies, which are part of the mammalian dive reflex. This reflex works on multiple levels and allows us to stay underwater for longer, and it's the reason that your second and third breath hold usually are longer and more relaxed than the first. One of the ways of how this reflex helps you to hold your breath for longer is by reducing the heart rate and the blood flow to your extremities, so your hands, arms, feet and legs, which in turn reduces your oxygen consumption. Our next topic is mental control and relaxation. The ability to relax your body really begins with your mind, and it is just as important as physically preparing your body to higher levels of carbon dioxide. For me personally, I find mental relaxation the most important element to work on. The more you are in control of your mind and able to relax it, the easier it will be to relax your body. And a relaxed body needs less oxygen. That's how simple it is. Again, the more you practice holding your breath, the more you gain control of your mind and relax your body past the urge to breathe. Now, let's talk about training techniques. You have a lot of different options depending on what you want to focus on, your training on, whether you have access to water, and depending on how much time you have available for your training session. You can either train on land or in the water, and you can either do static training or dynamic training. Static simply means that when you are holding your breath, you're not moving. While during your dynamic breath hold training, you are moving, like swimming or walking, and thereby raising your heart rate, which again in turn increases your oxygen consumption and increases your CO2 buildup and your lactic acid production. In terms of safety, there's only one training method that you can safely do on your own, and that is static training on land. For any other apnea technique, please always make sure you have a properly trained or certified buddy with you who knows how to take care of you in case you need help. A very good way to train your static breath hold is through CO2 tables. That means that you're going to repeat several breath holds with a certain amount of recovery time in between each breath hold. With CO2 tables, the time of each breath hold remains the same, while the recovery between each of these breath hold cycles decreases. By doing so, you start each breath hold with more and more CO2 as the table progresses. One example of how to customize a CO2 table to your own individual breath hold abilities is to hold your breath until you feel the urge to breathe. And then you reduce the time that you breathe by 15 seconds every time. So let me explain that in more detail. So you start the exercise by breathing for 2 minutes, then you hold your breath until you feel the urge to breathe, then you breathe for 1 minute and 45 seconds, then you hold your breath again until you feel the urge to breathe. Then you breathe for 1 minute and 30 seconds, and so on. After 1 or 2 weeks, once you become more comfortable with the urge to breathe, you can then add 10 seconds to your breath hold time after you feel the urge to breathe before you start breathing again. This type of training is a great and relaxed way to start your breath hold training, and one that keeps you motivated as it focuses specifically on your abilities and not on achieving a set time, which can really put a lot of stress on your mind. There are also oxygen tables which work on improving your hypoxic threshold, meaning that your body gets used to lower amounts of oxygen. To perform this kind of table, you are basically doing a maximum breath hold every time. Now, I'm not a big fan of those oxygen tables, especially if you are a beginner, as this type of training is very time consuming with a much slower training effect than CO2 tables. So I'm going to skip these for now. There are a lot of apps available for your phone that can help you with this kind of static training. One thing I really want to emphasize is that it is super important that you don't train too often or too hard, as it will kill motivation to keep going. A good training frequency would be around 2 to 3 times a week and keep the training intensity at a nice comfortable level in the beginning. Once you have established a good base level of CO2, say after 2 months, you can then move on to more intense tables that will give you an even faster learning response. I will explain advanced CO2 tables in the next video, and if you want to make sure you don't miss this video, subscribe to my channel and you will get loads of other useful information which will help you on your breath hold journey. So, static breath hold on land is a great way of gaining deeper levels of relaxation, increasing awareness and control over your body, and experience high levels of carbon dioxide in a safe and controlled environment. It's a great way of experiencing contractions and learning to relax into them. When it comes to training for survival brutal wipeouts and multiple hold downs in surfing, you want to adjust your training to these scenarios as much as you can. In these situations, you might only have 1 or 2 breaths before the next wave hits you and forces you to hold your breath again. So your training needs to incorporate those elements. Once you have established a good base, you can then bring in the next element that is crucial for the surf environment. Your breath hold starts with a high heart rate and fast breathing. So that's it for today. If you want to learn more about the things we talked about here and how to maximize your breath hold potential and get professional support, we would love to welcome you to join one of our breathing workshops or surf survival courses. Check out the link in the description below. In our breathing workshops, you will also learn more about the urge to breathe, and we help you to become aware of its subtle signs in your body and how they feel, as it is quite an individual experience and one that it is easily missed. You will also learn how to use visualization, your senses, and specific deep relaxation techniques to help you maximize your breath hold. These techniques are as important as holding your breath, and using them together will set you up perfectly for the actual breath hold. You also learn a breathing technique called recovery breathing that you use after you start breathing again, which will help you to recover much faster and also help you to prevent blackouts. If you are a swimmer, surfer, or other watercraft user and you want to learn more about holding your breath in this context, check out our next video where we talk about how this environment needs a specific adaptation of your breath hold training. Or join our surf survival courses where you will learn how to overcome the fight or flight response and instead calm your body and mind just as an intimidating wave is about to hit you. We use specific breathing techniques that people with anxiety attacks and post-traumatic stress disorder are also using to stop the release of stress hormones and to slow the heart rate. I hope you have enjoyed watching this video and found useful information that will motivate you to train and help increase your breath hold. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions and how you get on with your training, and also what your favorite training methods are. In the next video, we talk about advanced training tables and how to adapt your training to survival scenarios. We will explore how to adapt your apnea training to situations where your breath hold begins with a racing heart, tons of CO2, fast oxygen consumption, and where you are not in control of when to come up for air. See you next week. Take care, everyone.